I'm going through this coffee like it's water.
Let's party on, Wayne.
Let's do it. Get it there?
Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
How's everybody doing?
Good morning. Let's see. I love that you're right with your feet. Hello. Thank you. All right.
Hey.
Come on in. Good morning. Here, this came nice things. Oh my gosh.
It's almost birthday, isn't it?
Almost
Friday. Friday's your birthday?
I'll volunteer to eat Mexican food with you, okay? I'm gonna volunteer. Oh, it's your birthday? I'll go eat Mexican food with you personally.
I would, but I'm not gonna be there.
Then I'll go for you.
Thank you. You're a good friend.
We're live. We're ready to go.
We're live and ready. Cool. Well, hey, thanks for being here today. I'm excited. I haven't been in here with you guys in a while. Sarah asked if I'd like to do this, and I said, let's do it. So here we are. The 6 personal perspectives. Has anybody heard of this concept before?
Is it in the red note?
Well, yes. Parts
It's
of
in
it.
everything.
It's in everything. Yes. But the 6 personal perspectives specifically is something that we reference a lot. It's a part of our color language. It's a part of our colorisms. But when this was first introduced to me, then it started showing up in all of the other color training courses. So it was when we took coaching skills camp, they talked about these concepts. In bold, we reviewed these concepts. In basically any of the things that we teach, these concepts come up because this is the mindset of high achievers. This is the way that we like to present ourselves. It's who we want to be around in regards to proximity. Keller is very much, is that Tyra's? Ooh, it's loud too. Thank you, Darren. It's very much how proximity can promote productivity. This is the kind of people you want to be around. This is when they say you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, this is why. Because you want to be around people that also believe the same thing as you, so that way you can get something from them, because we all have value to give. You elaborate. Where are you at on the 6 personal perspectives?
When Gary Keller first started franchising Keller Williams, he had a lot of success in Austin, and he started developing these franchises around the country. He would go out, he would be in a different city every single day, training these people, getting them ready to run a market center, to run incredibly successful businesses. And they all started failing one by one. So what he did is he developed this material and started going back out and redeveloping these franchises. And he would not train on a single thing until he went through the 6 personal perspectives, because he realized he had missed the foundation, the fundamentals, the mindset that needs to happen before anything else happens. So any kind of training that he does now, he does this. When we were at Mega Leadership Camp last year, he stopped everything, got on a projector, and said, and here we go. Went through all of the 6 personal perspectives before he talked about anything. So this is a fantastic foundation to wrap your mind around how high achievers make things happen.
Does anybody know how many times you have to hear something before it clicks? Take a guess.
32.
6, 32, 21. 18 is the newest scientific research, is that you have to hear something 18 times before you remember and before you can actually regurgitate it. That sounds gross. I'm not talking like baby bird feeding or mama bird feeding, or maybe I am. But until you can, so it's kind of like a couple of things that we say. You hear it, and then you have to absorb it, and then you have to adopt it, and then you have to live it. And so 18 times in order for that process to go through. So that's why he does this. That's why we talk about it. That's why the 6 personal perspectives show up in so much of our teaching. But I also love that Gary was like, I failed. Gary Keller, guys, like bazillionaire, said, I failed. I went and tried to get all of these people and all of these franchises up and running, and I failed because I didn't start with the foundation. So that's also why we come back to this constantly. It's the foundation. Did we get you a pat? You good? Love it. All right.
It's a magical mix. This is our Venn diagram. So this is where your packet is going to start. Mindset, attitude, and approach to life. Those are 3 different things, but with the 6 personal perspectives, they are all going to intertwine and work together, and we're going to be in great shape. So we are going to be working on a few things together today in this room, and by the time you walk out of here today, you should have an action plan for one of the big goals in your life. Ooh.
Don't get up and leave.
We're all excited.
Don't leave. Don't leave. This is awesome.
All right.
I'm glad you're in here, and I'm glad it's December because this is the kick in the hiney that we need to start off Q1. Okay. So the 6 personal perspectives. Number 1, we're just going to talk about all 6 of them, and then we're going to go through and we're going to explain what they are, how we implement, and how it relates to real estate and life in general. Because these things are not just real estate. This is the mindset to life in general of being a high achiever. So the very first one is to commit to self-mastery. Who's heard of jack of all trades? Right? We've all heard that. You don't want to be a jack of all trades. Okay? A lot of people think that they are and they should be, and that that's something to be proud of. That means that you know just a teeny tiny bit about a lot of stuff. Just enough to get you by. But when you commit to self-mastery and you are a master of one thing, people are going to look at you with such a high regard because you know your stuff. And they know that that is the subject that I go to Kara to for every single thing. If it has anything to do with that subject, Kara's my person because I know she's going to know it front to back. So when it comes down to the one thing, right? Again, a Gary Keller idea, thought. You don't want to delve in a whole bunch of stuff. Have one thing that you're really, really good at and master it. Say, I'm going to know this. I'm going to know that book front to back, cover to cover, every single sentence, every single punctuation.
Commit to the 80-20 principle. How many of you have heard of the 80-20? Pareto. Any of that? Yes. Stick to your 20%. What is your one thing? We're really going to dive in deep. It's so much more than time blocking. It is so much more than lead gen. It is what do you need to get done versus what has to get done. What do you need to get done to make something happen? Anyone feel like there are not enough hours in the day?
Yeah.
High achievers have the exact same amount of hours as you do, but they focus on the 20%. So we're going to figure out what your 20% is to help you get to where you want to be.
So the third one is moving from E to P. So E stands for entrepreneurial. It's not something I can say easy. Entrepreneurial.
That's why it's E.
E. Okay. Everybody in this room is an entrepreneur because you have decided to open your own business and become a realtor. And that is your own business. Whether you're on a team or not, you are still a 1099 entrepreneur. You're looking to make something for yourself. Now, that's a fantastic thing that you've got to have in your heart and in your mind. But then we want to go past that. Okay? So the P stands for purposeful. So going from having an entrepreneur attitude and an entrepreneur state of mind and saying, okay, I'm going to go in, I'm going to do this for myself. Now make it purposeful. Put a purpose behind the E, and you're going to break through natural ceilings of achievement. Everybody hits a ceiling, and a lot of people, they go back down. They hit this, they have amazing success, and then all of a sudden their business the next year drops. They blame it on the market. They blame it on, oh, I just didn't want to work as hard. No, it's because they weren't willing to break through a ceiling of achievement so that they could have higher success. It takes encouragement. It takes a lot of hard work and discipline and these other concepts to make that happen.
Make being learning-based the foundation of your action plan. I think Miss K is such an exemplary example of this. She is 85 years old. shh, we're going to make sure she doesn't listen. She has been in real estate for 50 years, and she continues to say, I learned something new today. And she knows she does not know everything. She is very committed to being learning-based, to researching, to making sure that she is on the edge of everything. And she's not going to stop because she knows if she stops, she falls behind. Right? So we absolutely have to stay learning-based. There's no way you're ever going to know everything about one thing. You have to continue to learn, and that has to be a big part of your action plan, the absolute foundation of it.
And then we've got remove your limiting beliefs. This is one that we like to joke with you guys about because we're like, that's limiting belief, don't say it. And it makes you giggle, and you're usually like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Jessi. Stop it. And yet it's so true. How many people have said, I can't do that? My kids say it all the time. You know what we now say in our house? Whenever our children say, I can't do that, I can't put away my toys, or I can't make my bed, or I can't run fast. I say, what do we say in this house? And Poppy goes, I can, not I can't. We don't say I can't. And then the other thing that we say is we do hard things in the Wilman house. We do hard things. Remove I can't from your vocabulary. There are some words that if you just replace them, and we'll talk about those words, it is replacing that limiting belief, because your mind is a very incredible thing. It can make you believe something just by saying words, even if it's not what you feel. So every time you say I can't do something, your brain starts to think about that, and it's heard it 18 times. I can't, I can't, I can't. All of a sudden, it says, no, you can't. I'm not going to allow you to. And it takes over psychology. So it does suck. And we can fix it because we have the power to do so. Last one.
Be accountable, everyone's favorite.
Yay.
I love that. I don't think there is anything you can do in your life without accountability. If you commit to something and you've put yourself in charge, you are responsible for making everything happen, you're going to be exhausted, and it's not going to happen because you're going to quit, because it's exhausting to hold yourself accountable to everything that you want to get done in your life. Being accountable is a big piece of today. We're going to talk at the end of today about the people you want to surround yourself with that will help hold you accountable. It's not just going to be me and Jessi. Yes, we would love to help you be accountable. We can for your business. We will absolutely do that. But what about financially? What about emotionally? Who is keeping you in check? Who is holding you up? Who is cheering you on in every aspect of your life? You don't want to live life alone. You're not going to succeed in this business alone. No one succeeds alone. So there's going to be accountability in there, and you can set that up for yourself to be successful.
And let me just say too, and we'll get into this in a minute when we get into that sixth perspective, but accountability is not just for like hard bad things in your life. It should be for good celebratory things as well. Like I know that Sarah wants to buy a lake house by January. And so guess who's keeping her accountable to that? Guess who's saying, hey, have you talked to that realtor? Is it still on the market? Hey, what are you and Tyler's financials looking like right now? How's that down payment coming on? Have you talked to your lender? We get to say these things to each other because I'm excited that she wants to do that. And I want to make sure that she doesn't let it go to the wayside because it becomes one of those I can't things. No, she's going to have a lake house in January.
You're going to have a family compound next year.
Yes, I am. So see, it's the same kinds of things. So you want someone to help you stay accountable for your happy things too. Serious, financials, have I hit my appointments? Those are important. That helps you get to the happy things. And the happy things have to be something that is talked about consistently, because if you don't put it out into the world, it's not going to happen.
Ooh, let's dive in. Okay. All right. Page 2 of your packet. There are 3 things we'll write down. What things would you like to accomplish in your life? It's not simple, something crazy big. I'll give you 3 things that have happened in your life.
In fact, I would encourage you to write down something that is very simple, and I would encourage you to write something that is extravagant. I'm talking big goal, big dream, and then try to find something in between.
Is anyone stuck? No, we're good.
Everybody's writing. I like it. Nobody's just sitting there staring at the page. That's good.
Well, they want to do big things.
Give you a couple more minutes. Simple, big, and in between.
All of mine are big.
That's okay.
That's okay.
That's all right. Dream big. Dream big.
Setting myself up for failure.
Not at all. That's a limiting belief, and we'll talk through that in a little bit. All right. Now that you have 3 written down, I want you to circle the most important one to you right now, today, to figure out an action plan to make that happen.
What if it's not real estate related?
Doesn't matter.
That's okay.
Doesn't matter at all. When I first took this class, 2 of mine were pay off debt, buy a lake house.
Okay.
Because of this class, I'm buying a lake house in January.
Okay, awesome.
Oh.
Look at that accountability. Yeah, you are.
All right, now turn to page 3. That one that you just picked, that one that you want to form your action plan for today. Answer each one of these questions. Number 1, what is your goal? Write it down again. The more you write it down, the more accountable you will hold yourself. If you write it down, you're 27% more likely to go after it. Question 2, how are you doing with that goal? Be honest with yourself. Lots of sighing and eye rolling.
I know. Little faces. Pursed lips.
Number 3, with how you're doing with your goal, how do you feel about that?
That's my favorite question. How do you feel about it? Does it suck? If it sucks, write down that it sucks. If you're feeling okay, like, hey, I'm doing an all right job, write that down. But do not kid yourself. We're not going to come around over your shoulder and look at this. But if it sucks and if it feels really crappy, I want you to write that down. Oh, and then the 4th question. This is the one that gets you.
What will your future look like if you do not achieve this goal?
If you do not. What is it going to be like if that does not happen? This is a psychology piece called The Negative Future. If you don't get there, does that affect your family members? Does it affect your heart, your well-being, your financials? Does it have a greater ripple effect? Or is it just affecting you? If you don't hit that goal, what's that going to be like? It's a different way to think about it. Does that light a fire? Anybody got a nasty feeling in their stomach right now? Okay, good. Let's keep going.
Fantastic. Now we can really dive in. All right. Step number 1, self-mastery. We're going to put some pieces together. So self-mastery is going to be the possession of great knowledge. In order to be an expert at something, you should put in 10,000 hours. Sounds like a whole lot. Do you think if you put 10,000 hours into being a real estate expert, you could probably get there? Great. Have you put in 10,000 hours already? No. Got to start doing it. Got to hit that self-mastery. Go for it.
So self-mastery is when you decide that you are going to take on mastering yourself. And when you accept the challenge, you can effectively lead yourself and you can direct your success. So first, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier. You've got to say, okay, I hear you. And now I'm going to absorb it. Now I'm going to adopt it. And then I'm going to start living it. And then after you live it, guess what the next step is? You start teaching it. They say that when you start to teach something, that's when you become the master. I go back to like Kung Fu Panda, right? You've seen that movie.
What?
Master Uruguay, or what's his name?
I don't know. I've never seen
You've
it.
never seen Kung Fu
No.
Panda?
Oh, man.
The turtle, you know, the master that
Uh-huh.
teaches.
Yeah.
You're looking at me. You've never seen Kung Fu Panda.
Oh, my God.
Okay, that's your homework. Go watch Kung Fu Panda. It's amazing. It's got Jack Black. But literally, this turtle is the like Kung Fu master, and he is going to teach this fat panda who's a noodle salesman how to become the next big Kung Fu guy. Well, he masters it. And you look at this turtle and you're like, there's no way. You're a turtle. And then you look at a panda and you're like, there's no way. You're a fat panda. And then, lo and behold, watch the movie. You'll be very excited. But what I'm saying is that when you adopt it and you believe it, and then you do it, and then you teach it, that's when you become the master. Everybody's looking at me like I'm crazy.
You are crazy.
So, mastery also starts with the decision to excel at something, a decision to put time and effort into achieving excellence and to reject mediocrity. It's kind of like I was saying earlier. In my house, my kids, they're not allowed to say I can't, and we say we do hard things. We will not be mediocre at my house. And a lot of people are like, man, you're a hard mama. Or, ooh, that's kind of rough. No, I don't want mediocrity in the world. And there's nothing wrong with pushing other people to be great because we are all able and capable of being great. But if you don't start here and accept the fact that you can be great, you're not going to be it. So yeah, am I maybe brainwashing my children to be awesome? Sure. Guilty. But guess what? You got to do it for yourself too. I'll give you a little bit of an example. So I have a sister. Some of you might know her, some of you might not, and that's okay. Love her dearly. She is Eeyore. Everybody at least understand that reference? Are we good? Everybody know Winnie the Pooh? Y'all are not following me on my cartoon references.
I can speak Eeyore.
Okay, she's Eeyore, guys. She has a rain cloud over her head everywhere she goes. It's always a little bother. She's lost her tail. I have to pick it up and put it back on her. And I'm like, come on, girl, get your shit together. And it never changes. And I constantly have to have this talk with her. If you will just start looking for the positive will find you. But if you are continuing to just sit in the negative, in the rain cloud, that is all you're ever going to see. And so that's the same kind of concept that we're talking about here. Be accepting of amazing. Be accepting of achieving excellence because you're capable. There's no one here that is going to stop you from doing so except for yourself. Okay, I'm off my soapbox.
Has anyone ever been on a job interview? Fantastic. So I'm sure you've had the question, so tell me about your strengths. Great, tell me about your weaknesses. And you probably tried to pull the psychology trick of, I'll give you a weakness, but then it will be disguised as a strength. Yes? Did y'all ever do that? Did y'all ever get like training on how to do that? It's terrible. So we want you to realize what your strengths are. Yes, because you are absolutely able to achieve incredible things, and acknowledge what your weaknesses are. I know that's not our favorite thing to say, I'm not great at this. For some of us, we enjoy saying it. I'm not great at this, therefore I can't make that happen. We want you to acknowledge your weaknesses, acknowledge your strengths, and figure out a way to make them work together to achieve every single goal that you have. So there's an example in your packet. It says page 19 top. This person's goal was to master prospecting. Their strength is they are great with people.
Who's great with people in here? Like 99% of people, when you ask them, why'd you get into real estate? It's either because I saw it on HGTV or because I'm great with people. That's the answer you get.
You're great with people. That's a natural strength. Fantastic. What is your weakness? I'm very uncomfortable bringing up business. Anyone uncomfortable being salesy? That limiting belief that we all have, maybe? Yeah?
Mhm.
So what they did is they took those strengths and weaknesses and they said, I'm going to practice scripts so that I get comfortable bringing up business. I'm going to call my sphere of influence because I am great with people and I am comfortable talking to those people. And I'm going to take bold and get myself some of those skills. So they put those strengths, those weaknesses, and those resources all together in order to move toward that goal. They committed to self-mastery by saying, I understand and acknowledge my strengths, my weaknesses, and I'm going to use those in my favor.
And put together a plan. I think that's the biggest piece. We're going to talk about these puzzle pieces. Strength, weakness. Now let's put a plan together of how we can overcome the weakness with our strengths so that we can achieve the goal. This isn't rocket science, and I know y'all are kind of like, oh, okay, why did I come to this class? They're telling me stuff I already know. 18 times, guys. You have to hear it 18 times. You may have already heard this. Who's doing it? Oh, kick in the gut. Okay?
All right, that next page of your packet is a little bit of an exercise. We're going to do it on our own. The goal that you wrote down, the one that we are focusing on today, what are 3 obstacles currently standing in your way to achieving that goal?
Mhm.
Write it down.
Write it down.
Obstacle 1, obstacle 2, obstacle 3.
Now, this goal does not have to be real estate. Like Sharon said, hers is not real estate, but I guarantee there are some obstacles that are keeping you from that goal. What are those obstacles? This is a part of understanding our weakness. We need to identify what's standing in our way.
Once you have those 3 down, right underneath where you wrote those obstacles, I want you to write down a personal strength or trait that will help you overcome that obstacle.
So once again, you're identifying your 3 obstacles that are keeping you from your big goal. And underneath each obstacle, write down something that you know is a strength of yours that could overcome the obstacle.
It's a strength, not a wish, it's a strength.
No, not wish. No shoulda, coulda, wouldas. A strength that you already possess. A trait that you already possess
I don't like
that can overcome this obstacle.
this.
It's uncomfortable. I'm glad you're in the room.
All right, so we have a goal. We have written down what is in our way and what strengths we already have to push through those obstacles. Ready?
Mhm.
Number 2.
Commit to the 80-20 principle, also known as Pareto's principle.
Has anyone ever heard the story of the jar of rocks? Okay,
Get ready for a fable.
here we go.
No Disney characters included.
Just wait.
Just one.
College professor walks into his room, hundreds of students in there, puts a big glass jar on his desk. Yes? Y'all tracking with me? He puts in a bunch of large river rocks.
Oh, I saw this on YouTube.
He asked, "Is the jar full?" His students said, "Yes, looks full to me." He then got out a bunch of small river rocks, threw those in there, and they filled in the space. He then asked his students, "Is it full?" They said, "Yeah, now it looks full." He then got out a jar of sand and threw that in there. Yeah? Y'all get the picture? He said, "Is it full?" They said, "Yeah, can't possibly fit any more stuff in there. No more at all." So then he got out a bucket of water and threw that in there. And he said, "Now is it full?" And they said, "Yes," and it was. It was full. But he said, these are the big rocks in your life. These are the things that you absolutely have to take care of, that your life is not complete without. What are your big rocks? Then he said, these are the small rocks. These fill in some of the space, not quite as important as the big rocks. Then he said the sand, then the water. The big rocks are what make your life worth living. The small rocks, the sand, the water, that's all just bonus. That's extra to fill you up and make you a complete person.
can we talk about, this is how I like to think of it. It's your cupcake,
Oh,
the cake, and then the icing. This is my big rock. This is my small rock. This is my sand and my water. I mean, in case you want just a different perspective.
I like the cupcake.
Yeah.
You want to go into the Pareto version of this?
So Pareto's principle. Pareto was actually a philosopher that lived in France, and he started to make discoveries about his pea garden. No joke. He literally was growing peas, and he realized that in his garden, only 20% of the stalks were actually producing 80% of his yield. So he looked at all the rows of his garden, and he's growing pea plants, and there's only 20% of his pea plants that are producing 80% of the peas. And he thought, well, that's weird. So then he started to observe other things, and he realized that this was a common occurrence that was happening over and over and over again. The one that was the most enlightening to him was he realized that 20% of the landowners in France owned 80% of the land. Like only 20% of people owned 80% of the land. And then he went even further to realize now, currently, if you look at the world population, 20% make 80% of our money. If you compare it to the entire population, 20% makes 80% of the money that is available in the world. So when we say focus on your 20%, we say focus on the 20% because the 20% is what's going to give you your greatest yield. If you focus on the little rocks in the sand, the busy work, if anybody's been with Coach Dusty, he's so busy. The busy work, that 80% is only going to give you 20% of your results.
So you're telling me if I put in the water first, and then the sand, and then the little pebbles, would I be able to get the big rocks in there?
No.
No. Got to work your life and your business the same way.
They would start to overflow.
Mm-hmm.
And the big rocks are the most important because they take up the most space. So when you talk about time blocking, and when you talk about what is the 20% that I should be focusing on, what is going to yield 80% of your results in real estate? Let's talk about that. What would you think is in your 20%? What's going to yield the most results? Lead generation.
Listing.
Say it again.
Listing.
Listings? Yeah. Yeah. You focus on listings, you're automatically going to get buyers. That's exactly right. Lead gen, focusing on listings. What else would you think is in your 20%? What's going to yield the most results? I would say writing and negotiating a contract. Got to have that. So do you think going to a mixer or with a bunch of other realtors and no prospective clients are there, is that 20 or 80%? Networking is important, but are there customers there? No.
Is networking a big rock or a little rock?
It's a little rock. Now, it depends on if networking is a part of your lead gen. You can go networking, but don't go networking at a place where there's other realtors. They're not going to be your customers. Go networking at a place where you're going to find clients. See the difference? That's where it changes from a 20 to an 80. Being on Facebook. Again, it could be either way. Depends on what you're doing. Are you going and are you liking and loving at least 10 things a day? Are you making yourself actually visible to the outsiders of our industry? Are you putting yourself out there as the market expert and posting things that are of interest to people when it comes to buying a house? Or are you watching cat videos? Cat videos, 80%. Unless the cat's looking for a new home, and sometimes they are. 20%, marketing yourself and being strategic with your social media. So everything could be in either category. It's understanding what's going to yield the biggest results.
All right, so we've already kind of taken a dive into identifying your top 20%. right down at the bottom of page 31 of your packets, it talks about making a success list, not a to-do list. Anyone love making to-do lists? Oh,
Everybody?
I love it.
Yeah.
If I don't write it down, if I don't have a receptacle, my brain says you're going to forget something. You're going to have to repeat this to-do list to yourself 800 times today. Can't hear anything, don't know what's going on because I'm going to forget if I don't stop repeating it to myself.
See, she's
So I
the
have to
logic.
Yeah.
She's the logic. I like crossing it off. That's my favorite part of a to-do list is I did it. I am successful. Look at me go. So it's very funny how we're a little bit opposite in why we make
yes,
a to-do
a
list.
to-do list. So we're going to introduce you to the concept of a success list. Okay? So think about your specific goal from page 13. Go on ahead to page 33 in your packet. Write down that goal again. The more you write it down, the more likely you are to chase after it and make it happen. In section 2 on that page, we're going to write a little bit of a to-do list. What needs to happen in order for you to hit that goal? What's your to-do list?
So let's take Sarah's example. Let's just start talking about it so you guys understand what we're talking. Her goal is to buy a lake house in January. What needs to happen in order for you to do that?
We need to meet with a lender. We need to save money. We need to actually go look at the house. We need to figure out what the market's doing there. We need to do a whole lot of stuff.
Okay.
That's my to-do list.
Everybody understand where we're at? So now we're going to take that to-do list and we're going to just start filtering, right? It's like everything that grandma doesn't have right now, we're going to pull out those filters, okay? Now we're going to filter it down to the success list. So now it's what on the to-do list absolutely has to happen first.
We're going to prioritize it. Go ahead and write down some numbers in front of your to-do list. What needs to happen first?
So in Sarah's instance, what do you think needs to happen first?
Well, right now I am only pre-qualified, so we all know we would be telling our buyers, you need to go get pre-approved. Yes, so that's going to be my number one. So from there, you can see on the screen, we start to take that one thing. We're going to pull it out and then make a list from there. Then prioritize that. Then make that list from there. We're going to get it down granular to what do you need to do right now? What is the one thing that's going to kick off that first domino and set off this chain of events? Lots of things got to happen for me. I need my husband to hurry up and get his bonus check so that we can count that as income. Yeah, we need to get that. So there's many, many things that do need to happen. And you're going to keep picking what is the number one thing on this list. Great. In order to make that happen, what then needs to happen? What's the number one thing on this list? You're going to make it so granular that it's going to feel like a baby step. I barely need to do something, but you have whittled down what is my 20%, what is that number one thing, and what is my first step. And once you have that figured out, so you've created that success list, you've maybe circled the tasks that you absolutely have to make happen, you've put it into an order so you know your number one thing, and you've really taken it all the way down to the most simple thing. What is the one thing you can do such that by doing it, everything else will become easier or unnecessary? Anyone here read the book, The One Thing? Oh, you're about to. I'm about to buy a copy for everybody in this room. The One Thing takes this concept into an entire book. It breaks down everything. What is the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? You can do this every 5 minutes in your day. Got that done. Now what? Now what is my one thing? Every single morning, our leadership team gets together. We say what we're grateful for the day and what's our one thing for the day. What is the one thing we have to do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary?
And then we have a check-in at around 2:30 or 3.
Oh, an accountability check-in?
An accountability check-in to see if everyone has accomplished their one thing. And if they haven't, what's stopping you? What's in your way? How come that hasn't happened yet? That should have been what you've already done so that the rest of the day can be moving forward. Does that make sense? You can do this in your life. You can do this in your finances. You can do this in your relationships. You and your husband got in a big fight. Oh, I thought you were about to. What was the fight about? Identify the problem. What are the to-do list items we need to accomplish together in order to prevent this from happening again? Okay, now what is the success list that we need to accomplish together? Now, what is the one thing you can do and what is the one thing I can do so that this doesn't happen again? This is a principle that applies to so many aspects of our life. Anybody ever heard of eating an elephant? One bite at a time. That's what this is. All right.
What's an example of a big thing?
Like my one thing,
Your one thing.
I'll tell you one day, my one thing was to close my door. Kid you not. I had to close my door because I needed to make 20 phone calls and I kept having people say, hey, you got a minute? Hey, you got a minute? Or I got distracted by a bunny suit that's sitting in my office, or I got distracted.
Really true story.
It's a true story. You can go in there in a second, you'll see it. Or I kept getting calls, or I would have my emails up in front of me, and I feel I am the kind of person that I cannot have notifications. Like if there's 17 emails, I need to go and clear them out, or I need to file them. If I have 16 text messages, gotta fix it. So I literally had to put my phone down, close my computer, and I needed to close my door so that I would not be distracted so I could make my phone calls. So sometimes it's just getting it down to that. Just my one thing is to close my door. And they all laughed. I'm like, no, if I close my door, I'll get this done.
And that was the granular level
Mhm.
of my 20% are these things. One of those is making those phone calls. And then she identified what her obstacles were and what her to-do list was, and then got it down to a granular level. I have to, number one, what is the one thing I can do? Close my door. Then what's the one thing I can do? Turn off all the notifications. Then what's the one thing I can do? And it breaks it down so it is so simple, so that if you are procrastinating on something, this is a great way to work out. Oh, I'm procrastinating because it's so big and overwhelming. Great, let's bring it down to a granular level so it's this much of a baby step.
Mhm.
Easy.
That's a
Okay.
great question. Great question. But I don't want you to think that it's too silly or it's too simple, when in fact that could be the most amazing thing you can do in order to be productive.
There have been lots of days that I told Brooke I didn't do one single thing today, except that one thing I told you I needed to do so it's successful.
That's exactly
I
right.
did nothing else.
That's exactly right.
All right, that next page of your packet gives you a sample of a mega agent 411. Y'all remember what a 411 is?
Who knows what a 411 is? One hand.
Y'all?
Two hands. 411. I know Sarah goes over this with you guys, and if you haven't gone over it, let us know, because this is an easy way to break it down. This helps you establish what's my big goal, what do I need to do. It's basically like what we just talked about, to-do list, success list, and here's what I need to do step by step in order to make it happen. But writing it down, talking it through, establishing those obstacles, that will help you be better at making it happen. And this takes that long. It's just having the discipline to do it.
You don't need to only have a 411 in your business. You can have a 411 for your finances, for your relationships. At one point, we did a workshop where we had to do a 411 for all 7 areas of our life described in the one thing. That's a lot, but you have an action plan for every single area of your life. This can carry through to everything. So you're going to write your annual goals up top. Notice how there's job and business. Those are 2 different things. There's personal finance and just personal. So they have goals in those 4 areas of their life. Then they know, what do I need to do for this next month to take me one step closer to that goal? So this is part of their to-do list to get there. Then they have it broken down into week by week. They have week 1 filled out, ready to go. In each area of my life, here are my steps. Here are my 1 things that I need to do each day in order to hit that monthly goal, in order to hit that annual goal. So it breaks it down to a granular, digestible level where you can say, today I'm going to lead gen. Not only am I going to lead gen, what is my 1 thing in lead gen? I have these 5 different things I'm going to try for lead gen. I'm going to stick to this one because it's been the most successful for me. Of that, what's my action plan? Who am I calling? What am I saying? What market data am I giving to them? You want to break it down so that you have that one easy thing that'll take you 5-10 minutes. Doable, done. Now you get to move on to the next thing. And if it's all within your 20%, you've had a successful day.
Get to mark it off. Favorite. Any questions about the 411?
On the very back page is the blank 411, so you can do it on your own for homework.
You make copies, and you can have one for every week.
All right. Remember how I said that successful people have the same amount of hours in the day that you do? They get their 20% on their calendar, and they make it happen, and they still have time to live life. So we are going to talk a little bit about time blocking. We're not going to go into a crazy whole schedule or anything, but there are 4 things you can do to have successful time blocking, to have a successful day. So this should be on page 41 for you. Number 1, be consistent enough to set the habit. What is your game plan for your time block? Is it going to be on a Google Calendar? Is it going to be on a paper calendar? Is it on a whiteboard? Is it in your phone notes? What is that you can be consistent and you will do every day?
Let me just say a little bit about consistency. One of the most interesting things to me is that the most successful people that I have ever come across in my life also have the most boring calendars. When I say boring, it's not because they're not full. Their calendars are insane. It's boring because it's the same thing every single day. Every day from 8 to 12, they are lead genning. Every day from 12 to 1, they have lunch. Every day from 1 to 3, they are doing follow-up. Every day from 3 to 6, they are going on appointments. Every day from 6:30 to 7:30, they're having dinner with their family. Every day at 7:45, they are doing homework with their children, and at 8:30, they are bathing their kids and putting them to sleep, and they are in bed by 9:30 and waking up at 5 a.m. It doesn't change. So there may be things that happen in the day that make the day different, but if you look at someone's schedule who is incredibly successful, they've got the same thing every single day, and they just do it on repeat. That is the key, is the consistency.
Has anybody ever had anybody walk by their office and say, hey, you got a minute? Is it ever a minute?
It's never
No.
a minute.
You have permission to say no, to say not right now, to say, let me check my schedule. As silly as it sounds, that one thing that you do, let me check my schedule real quick. I have time at 2:30. Can we talk then? They may figure it out on their own before then. You may get to do all kinds of incredible work over the next hour. You have permission to say no, to say not right now, to not commit in that moment. Go by your calendar. Make sure your 20% is on your calendar.
It makes a world of a difference, you guys. When you have a willy-nilly day and you're just up for whatever, you're going to have a willy-nilly result. When you have a structured, scheduled day, guess what? You have structured, scheduled, anticipated results. So number 2, be thoughtful and purposeful about the items that you list on your calendar. Don't put on your calendar lunch if you're not going to eat lunch. But put it on your calendar if you need to eat.
Guilty.
I'm very guilty of that. I usually have my food sitting right in front of me at the computer. I used to have lunch on my calendar, and then I took it off. Guess what? I need to put it back on. Because you have to fuel yourself. And you have to, if you're consistent and you abide by your calendar, then you'll be fine. Also be purposeful, because guess what? You're allowed you time. If you have a hair appointment scheduled because you need a haircut so that you could look presentable when you go and sell a house, and somebody says, oh, can we do it at this time? You can say, no, I have an appointment. They don't need to know that it's a hair appointment. If I need to have happy hour at 5 p.m. for my sanity and someone wants to go see a house, I'm allowed to say, no, I have an appointment. with a fine bottle of wine. They don't need to know that, okay? So be purposeful with what you put on there. And I will tell you right now, schedule your personal things first. Because in this business, if you don't schedule your personal life, such as vacations, such as children's programs, such as a get-together with family members, you will overschedule yourself, or you will double book yourself, and then you will say that that's more important. And your family will be the first ones to know when you're fitting them in. Don't fit them in. Put them on there first, because they are a priority.
They are the big rocks.
They are the big rocks. There's no picture here, but you know what I mean.
Know what I mean. All right, always time block for the 20% that ensures your success and the success of your business. Don't be putting the 80% on there. Yes, you can have time scheduled for it once the 20% is done, but until the 20% is done, the 80% does not matter. I can schedule all social media posts all day long to tell you what's on the training calendar. If I am not scheduling time to be in a room with the person, talking about their business, doing my 20%, doesn't matter what's on social media. I'm not doing my job.
Number 4 is one of my favorite. If you erase it, you gotta replace it. So if someone cancels on you, which who's had anybody cancel? Life happens. So if you take a 3 o'clock appointment off of your calendar, now it's blank space. What are you gonna do during blank space? You fill it with busy. You do the busy, you do the little rocks and the sand and the water, and that's when you start looking at cat videos. So replace it with something else that is more productive. So if the 3 o'clock cancels, I no longer have an appointment, then either find a new appointment to put in that place, or find something else that is going to help you with your one thing. But don't let it sit there. If you erase it, replace it. It's like junction, what's your function? It's easy to remember.
It is. All right, so once you have that time block, Gear Bear likes to talk about this quite a bit. You have to build a bunker to make sure it happens. Anyone else get easily distracted? Shiny things, fun things? Anyone think lead gen is fun?
Yep.
What's more fun? Anything else?
Yes.
Anything else that comes your way? So you have to build a bunker to ensure that you get that 20% done. So number 1, build a bunker. Find somewhere to work that takes you out of the path of disruptions or interruptions. Some agents have removed notifications from their phone. Some people will put their phone in a different room if they're doing something specifically on their computer. People will make sure that they are not distracted and they get the things done that need to happen. So if you need to close your door and put a sign up that says, we are lead genning, do not knock on the door, do not come in, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Fantastic, do that. Set those boundaries and expectations with your family. If you're working at home, I'm gonna close this door and I need 2 hours. And then I am all yours. Set that expectation. Give yourself the space. Store provisions. What supplies do you need? What snacks do you need? Do you need a charger for your laptop while you lock yourself in a closet to get work done? I've done it. That's how I got my real estate license. I locked myself in my master bedroom closet. I'm not joking. I'm not joking.
Somebody who's not kidding.
I brought in snacks. I brought in my charger. I brought in headphones. I brought in everything I needed so that I did not go out to the area where my children were that would have come and distracted me. Yeah, I made sure it happened.
Why I have a little mini fridge in my office, because if I come out, I will start talking. I will ask you how your day is. I will tell you that your shoes are cute. I will say, oh my gosh, that thing you brought to the potluck the other day, it was so good and I need the recipe, and now 30 minutes is gone. Your snacks are provisions. Your water, your drinks, your coffee. She's not kidding. Have it where you're gonna work. So that way you're not distracted and you don't get up. If I could put a catheter in while I sit down at work, I would. But nobody's really a fan of
I
that.
hate going to the bathroom.
We're in a shared office. It's not allowed. Number 3, sweep for minds. Again, get the distractions out of there. If you need to turn the notifications off on your desktop that says you got a Facebook like, hey, something popped up in Slack. Hey, something popped up in Outlook. You have a new email while you're trying to do lead gen. If that's going to distract you, turn it off. Get it done. I know lead gen's not fun. I know it's not fun. Make sure that you can get through it. Even if you're doing it 15 minutes at a time, make sure it happens. That's the most important thing. That's the big rock. Number 4,
Enlist support. It's that accountability piece that we were talking about earlier. If I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing, Courtney and Sarah are very good at letting me know. And I love them for that. It's not because they're being ugly. It's not because they're being mean. It's because they care about me and they care about my goals. And they're going to be like, should you really be doing that right now? They're also very good at making sure that I eat. Because there's lots of times I won't eat. And guess what? They're like, have you eaten? You need to get some food. Would you like me to order something for you? That's the kind of support that you need. It doesn't mean that you're necessarily working right next to somebody in an office. That just happens to be my circumstance. But when you've got somebody that says, hey, I've noticed that you're not doing this for yourself and you've already expressed to me that this is something that's important to you, have those people in your life. You have to share so that you can have support. Sharing is caring. It's another thing we say at my house. Woo! Step 2 is a lot. Sorry, guys. Step 2 is a lot.
That's the biggest one.
Moving from E to P. Entrepreneur. I can't say it.
Entrepreneurial to purposeful.
To purposeful.
Hey, who has this book? I know
Should
it's
be
not this
everybody.
fancy version. I have a fancy version. All right, on page 38 of the MREA, lots of natural ability can lead to overconfidence. Likewise, lack of natural ability contributes to low confidence. So much so that many never attempt tasks that appear to be outside the realm of their natural abilities. That sucks.
Anybody never done something because it's not something you're comfortable with? Yeah. Sarah told me that she wasn't capable of getting her real estate license.
No.
Yeah.
Guess who's a licensed realtor now?
Give Sharon that.
I won't do a video. She aces it every week.
You won't do a video?
No, I would die first.
You would die first. Well, we got to break through that ceiling of achievement.
Not an actress, I'm not.
You don't need to be an actress. You need to be a real person that people love. You're already that.
I'm chicken.
You're chicken. Moving from E to P. So, do you have the clicker?
I do.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
You're good. So this is kind of what we were talking about, that fundamental ceiling of achievement. People, when they hit that, then all of a sudden they get disappointed, and then sometimes they resign from what's happening, and then all of a sudden they get past that and they hit that ceiling again. It's like this really terrible up and down, up and down. It's like I said, you can have one of your most successful years in real estate and have an exciting moment, and then it's like, well, where do I go from here? Has anybody ever heard that? Well, what do I do now? I hit that goal. Well, you got to blast through that goal. Otherwise, you're just going to go back down. So this is moving from just being excited and using your inner strengths and the things that come to you naturally and saying, okay, now I'm going to be purposeful and I'm going to use those things to help me get past uncomfortableness. When you see that ceiling of achievement, I actually like to think of that as being comfortable. Let's get past comfortable so that we can do greatness, so that we can achieve big things. Or we can just live in mediocrity forever. And who in here would like to be mediocre? Sounds really gross when you say it that way. Who in here would like to be average? Nobody wakes up and says, I want to be average today. But you know why? Why we have mediocrity and why we have average? Because it's comfortable. So you got to get past being comfortable.
What is the biggest piece of growth you have seen in your life? Think real quick about a moment you had a crazy breakthrough. Did that happen in your comfort zone?
Oh no.
Just because you had some natural talent and abilities? Or did you break out of your comfort zone and then this crazy, incredible thing happened to you? You made that happen for yourself because you got out of your comfort zone.
Oh, you're good.
Oh, I know.
You're real good. That's what moving from E to P is. It's more of just the same thing, really. How do you get purposeful? Well, when you focus, right? You write down your 20%. You establish your one thing. You write down your goals. You write down your goals. You write down your goals. I'm going to say it 18 times. You write your goals, write 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 goals.
That was good. That was great. No, it was
Okay.
good. And guess what? You already did that today.
You have 3 times.
Focus. Check. Off the list. Find strategic options. Ask, how can this be done? Are there different or better ways to do that? Is this where people get stuck?
Yes.
How do I make this happen? If you don't know the how, we'll get into this in a little bit, find a who.
Ooh, there's a fabulous book. I want you to write it down. It is called Who, Not How. It's on Audible, so you don't have to even read it. You can listen to it. It is fantastic and changed my way of thinking. Who, not how. Because guess what? I am not great at a lot of things. But I have people in my life who are, and now I use them for those aspects. And guess what? It has shot me through my ceiling of achievement and got me out of my comfort zone because I've asked for help. And I have found somebody who does it at a much higher level than me, and then I ask them to do it for me. And then in return, I can either pay them or I can do something for them that I'm great at that they're not great at. Who, not how.
Ooh. Number 3, find models to follow. Attend trainings that teach you how to get to where you want to go. Identify mentors or people who have done it. Y'all, you can find people who have written your favorite books, who run your favorite podcasts, who have been in movies, who are succeeding in an industry that you are excited about. Reach out to them. Send them a direct message on Instagram if you find them. They will typically respond to you. They want you to succeed. People who have succeeded know what they did to get there. Ask, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're not going to respond?
Okay, that doesn't hurt me. But guess what? What if your favorite author responds to you? What if all of a sudden you build a relationship with someone that you idolize and they start to mentor you and then they ask you to do the same for someone else? Like, you just have to ask. Just have to ask.
Install systems, time block, create checklist, test the systems to make sure they work. When you time block day 1, is it perfect?
No. Is it perfect day 578?
No.
Is it perfect 3
No.
years in?
No. You will have to continue to improve things. You cannot just set this, get into a comfort zone, and hang out there. You're going to have to continue to say, what can I improve? What can I make 1% better so that I can be 1% better?
Love it.
Last one, bring in accountability. Make a 411. Keep track of your 411. Update it. Measure what you do. Do you know how long you actually lead gen every day? Do you know how long you scroll on Facebook? Do you know how long you are out looking at properties? Measure what you do. Figure out what it takes to get your 20% done in a day. I guarantee it's not as much time as you're taking right now. Have an accountability partner. Don't be afraid to ask for help. People want to help you.
Woohoo! Everybody still with us? Can you shake it out for a second? We're getting closer. Getting closer. Step 4, make being learning based the foundation of your action plan. How many people got through this life with your innate abilities? How many people had to learn how to speak a language or more than one? How many people had to learn how to do that? How many people had to learn how to draw better? We had to learn everything in our life. So why in the world would that ever stop? We are not born creatures with everything handed to us, although my children sometimes think that's the case. You have to keep learning. And if you make learning based your way of life, your automatic way of thinking, and your automatic go-to of, hey, I don't know that, let me go learn it. You're going to get ahead farther and faster than your neighbor. Period. We are never, ever, ever going to stop learning unless you just become a bump on a log and you start watching Netflix and chill and you put a blanket over you, and that's when you have just given up. I mean, really. Go out there and learn every single day and know for doing's sake. You can't do if you don't know. Does that make sense? What else? What am I missing?
The most successful people that you have heard of, that you have seen on the media, that you know in your life, do they read? like an insane amount? Do they surround themselves with people who are incredibly high achievers, ask them questions? They are always learning based because they know, just like Miss Kay, you're not going to stop. If you stop learning, you don't learn and you're dying. They know they have to continue to surround themselves and continue to pour into themselves to continue to grow. So that's a huge one for me.
I love that it says ignorance based. I know what I know, and I'll just ignore everything else. Anybody know somebody like that in their life? They are not interested in learning anything new. That's the way it's always been. That's the way I'm going to do it. Oh, what is my biggest pet peeve? Well, that's how it's always been done. No, don't say that to me, right? But then there's, I know what I know, and there's more that I got to know. That is when you become learning based. And then you continue to be more productive. And that's when like enlightenment happens. And you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that. Now I know it. Now I could do so much more. And then with enlightenment also comes this amazing higher self-actualization. Has anybody like read a book and when you finished it, you're like, man, I can go and conquer the world just because of what you just read? That is the power of productivity and knowledge. That can't stop. You can't say, oh, I got my license, now I can go and do everything in real estate that's related. Oh, please don't do that. Please don't do that. Say, okay, I got my license. What's the next thing I can do? What's the next thing I can learn? What's the next CE course that I can take? What's the next specialization that I can conquer so that I can become the most successful realtor, the most successful mom, the most successful friend, the most successful daughter? There's always something to learn.
All right, the next page in your book. Don't have a slide for this one. This is one of my favorite things. Ooh, levels of competency. You hear competency a whole lot in real estate. This has nothing to do with it. Nothing at all.
This has nothing to do
So
with
number one, anyone know how to drive a stick shift? Yep,
it.
yep.
Oh,
All right. So first time you get in the car, I'm sure your parent was like, let's go. Do you know what you're doing? Do you even know what you're supposed to be knowing?
Had no idea what the clutch was. My dad was like, push in the clutch. I'm like, the gas pedal? He's like, no! I had no idea there was a clutch.
So you don't know what you don't know. That next thing down, conscious incompetence. Now I know what I don't know. I know what I need to learn. Then we have conscious competence. Now I know that I know what I need to know. Yes, it starts to get real crazy. And then number 4, unconscious competence. Now you don't even think about it. You're driving down the road, your foot's working, you have no idea what's going on down there, your hand's working, you have no idea what's going on over there. You're able to listen to music and you don't even know where you're going, but you're there, right? It becomes natural and comfortable, but you have to go through this process of making sure that you understand, I don't know everything I need to know. You identify what you need to learn, you learn it, and then it becomes natural.
Never thought about it. When you're like in a car and you're driving a stick shift and you're going up a mountain and you realize, oh my gosh, I am pushing in the clutch. I am moving into a different gear and everything's going and it's become natural. But the very first time, there is no way I could even get up that hill because I didn't know any of that. I didn't even know a clutch existed. But understanding those 4 areas is huge. Again, this is all about self-realization, accepting, adopting, doing, teaching.
That next page of your packet, where you start to figure out your learning path. This does not have to be real estate related if your goal is not real estate related. Find out how you need to educate yourself in order to get to what you are wanting to get to. Make sure that you are ready to commit to that learning. Time block for it. Bring people with you.
This is a big one. So this can even, I'm going to tie this into a killer thing real quick when it says bring people with you. Who knows about profit share at KW? Who's received a check from profit share? Love it. Courtney's in there. Yeah, she did. This is when you tap somebody on the shoulder that's either interested in real estate or is already in real estate, and you tell them about Keller Williams and you bring them over here, and then they list you as a sponsor, and then they start productivity, they start contributing to company dollar, that company dollar turns into company profit, And now we're sharing that profit with you just because you tapped somebody on the shoulder and said, hey, I want you in this world. When you tap somebody on the shoulder, it says, hey, I care. But it also says, hey, I want you to learn with me. And I want you to understand the things that I'm being taught because I think it would be beneficial for you too. And then there's a monetary piece that comes with it. The great thing about this company is we provide passive income. We share our profits because that's the ripple effect that we want to have. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. Just saying, when it says tap somebody on the shoulder and bring them with you, you link arms and you say, let's go learn together like at Disney. Or you look at leadership like a barrel of monkeys and you link arms and you pull each other up.
It's time for your favorite one.
Remove your limiting beliefs. Okay, so this is something that high achievers do. They remove beliefs from their thinking that constantly holds them back. What is something that you say to yourself that is holding you back from one of your goals? I'm not enough. I'm too much. I don't do this. I can't. I won't. There's no way. Any of those things ring a bell? Here are some very common words that we use. I want you to write these down because they're not in your packet, that are a limiting belief vocabulary. Whoever says the word but. Yeah? Let me give you an example. Whenever you say but, it negates everything you said prior to that. I was very guilty of doing this with my children, and it killed me when somebody pointed it out to me. I used to say, I love you, but when you act like that, it makes me really upset. Everything in front of the but is negated. I said, I love you. I don't want I love you to be negated because I said the word but. So now, instead of but, replace it with the word and. I love you. And when you act like that, it hurts my feelings. It doesn't negate the fact that I still love them. It's pointing both things out. That's the one that hit hardest with me. Like that hit hard because I was saying it so often. So we, in our office all the time, if we hear somebody say but, we go and. Because it changes the whole perspective of what you're saying. Now, but is still necessary in other places and in other sentences and things like that. I'm not telling you to get rid of the word altogether in the English language, but think about how, and think about how you say it. You see what I'm saying? Here's another one. Don't say the word try. Try. Instead of saying try, replace it with intend. I intend to do this. I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try to make that party. I intend to make that party. I'm not going to try to be at that appointment. I intend to be at that appointment. Another one is it's hard. Remember I told you we don't say that at my house. We say we do hard things. But what you can replace it with is it's a challenge and I intend to master it. Acknowledging that it's going to be difficult and saying, I'm ready for that challenge. I'm ready to take it on. Instead of saying I can't, say I can. Here's a big one. I need to do this. No, you're choosing to do this. Instead of I need, say I choose. I have to. Ooh, how many times a day do you hear that? I have to go do this. I have to pick up my kids. Well, that sounds terrible. I intend to pick up my children. That's a good one. I am going to. I get to. I have to pick up my kids or I get to pick up my kids. Depends on the day. You're right. You're not wrong. But the perspective is so different. Because then it makes me go, oh my gosh, I have friends and I have family members and I have people in my life who have not had the ability to have a child. I have to pick up my kids? What a terrible, awful person does that make me? I am blessed that I have children and I choose to go pick them up. I get to go pick them up. Instead of I want, say I request or I choose. My kids tell me, I want chocolate milk. You can come back when you can learn how to ask me. Mom, may I please have some chocolate milk? I would like some chocolate milk. Don't say I want. Instead of saying what's wrong, say what's troubling you. Because it might not be wrong. And who am I to say that that's wrong or right? That's throwing in an opinion. But when you say what's troubling you, we can talk through it. We can figure out it may not be wrong. Instead of saying I hate, you can say, well, I don't prefer her, or I don't care for her. Hate is so strong. That word is so strong. Now, I hate Brussels sprouts. No, I don't. I like them when they're crispy. Didn't know that. I used to say I hated them. I preferred them crispy. And then instead of saying I hope, say I trust, because hope is not a strategy. So here's some limiting beliefs. I don't have enough time for training.
I have not made the time for training.
There you go. I can't be successful in this down market.
I can be successful in any market.
I can't devote 3 hours each day to lead gen.
I will devote 3 hours a day to lead gen. You're welcome. All right, so on page 81, start thinking about the limiting beliefs that are currently the obstacle to your goal right now. What are you saying to yourself that is holding you back from that goal? Change your words, change your life. Write something down that will help you overcome a limiting belief that you have about this goal and your ability to achieve it.
Here's where limiting beliefs are typically circled around. Fear of the future, a fear of rejection, or a fear of failure. But I can also tell you right now that those can be turned around and they could be some of the most motivating things. The future can motivate you. Rejection can motivate you. Who's been told no for a job interview before? Did you end up finding a job that was actually probably better than the one that turned you down? Were you motivated? Was there a fire lit under your butt to go and find something? And then fear of failure. I'll tell you right now, failure has motivated me more in this life. I have been told no more times. Sarah and I too, because of our theater background. Do you know how many times you get told no when you go to an audition? Do you know how many times you walk in and they don't even ask you to speak and they'll say, no, because of the way you look? Like, I'm actually so grateful that I was in theater and I learned that kind of rejection because it has set me up and made me a more confident person. I'm like, okay, that's just not what you're looking for. Doesn't mean I'm bad. Doesn't mean I'm not talented. It means I just didn't fit their mold. Okay, I'm gonna go make my own mold. Rejection has been so good and failure has been so good for my life. One of the things that Gary Keller says is that you have to fail your way to success. You cannot be successful without failure because what are you measuring by? So there's success at the end of the room and there's where you start, and failure happens all the way to success. It's like speed bumps. You got to get over them to get to where you're going. They're part of our road system. They're necessary. You can't go around them. You have to go through them. It's just like the going on a bear hunt. Y'all remember that?
You and all your children's stuff today.
All my children's stuff.
All right, so remove your limiting beliefs. We're going to change our words. We're going to change our mindset around the fact that we actually can achieve the goal that you wrote down. That's one favorite.
Last one. Being accountable. You want to start?
Anyone know someone who is an Eeyore who has that constant victim mindset?
Are you a victim? let me start by saying there are victims. Okay? There are people who are in awful circumstances, and yes, that makes you a victim. There's nothing wrong with being a victim. It happens to us. We have all been a victim at one point in our lives, some more extreme than others. The difference is you cannot stay there. You cannot live in a victim world, because if you do, you're just going to disappear. You cannot let being a victim define who you are. And here's some of the things that victims do. They don't seek reality. They don't ask any questions. They're completely ignorant, and they're perfectly fine and dandy with being ignorant. They fight reality. There's a lot of denial. That's just not the way it is, or that's not how I see it. Or,
We've always done it this way.
We've always done it this way. Denying reality, okay? They also blame. Do you know somebody that just projects everything on everyone else, and it's never, ever their fault? They don't ever take responsibility for their actions. It's always he did this or she did this, or it's because they didn't do their job. That is a victim mentality. Personal excuses or just deflection. Well, that's not my job. I'm not supposed to do that. When you are deflecting, it's the same thing. Taking responsibility and being accountable and saying, hey, my bad. I screwed up. Help me to be better. That's the difference. And then a victim also they just wait and they hope. And what did I say earlier? Hope is not a strategy. You can't hope your way to success. Hope is different than prayer. Hope is different than meditation and spirituality. Hope is just sitting there and saying, well, I hope it doesn't rain today. Oh, I hope that the cold front doesn't make its way over here tomorrow.
Hope I get a piece of business soon.
Hope I get some customers or clients. I hope someone calls me and says, hey, I want to sell my house. It might happen, but you cannot rely on that. So victim also, guys, victim mentality is also that mediocrity. It is that status quo. It's where people are comfortable. So what does an accountable person do?
An accountable person, they seek reality. They understand what the situation is. They're going to acknowledge reality. This is the way it is. Got it. I see where it's going. This is in your packets if you haven't turned over yet. They own it. If it is to be, then it's up to me. No one's going to do it for you. I cannot have all of the want for your business.
It's my responsibility.
I have to do something. This is my responsibility. They find solutions. What are my options? How can I get what I want? What can I do? And then they make it happen. They form an action plan. Let's go get started. That's it. Let's go. They're not going to sit around and wait for it to happen.
A part of being accountable and being solution-oriented, it's okay to come to somebody with a complaint. But if you're an accountable person, you're going to come with a complaint and a possible solution. It may not be the solution, but it's at least an idea. That is so important, especially when you're representing your clients. Because guess what? You're going to have bad news to give. It's going to happen because not all transactions are smooth and rainbows. So come with solutions. Be ready to handle their objections. That's being accountable. Catherine Pulitzer, she's an American author and poet, said, at the end of the day, we are accountable to ourselves, and our success is a result of what we do. Just love that quote. What else?
Biggest step right there is start to catch yourself. When you hear yourself saying those phrases, when you hear yourself saying, I'm just going to wait, I'm going to hope, I'm going to let someone else do that, I'm going to hand off that client because I'm not feeling it. Start to catch yourself and then seek out people to help keep you accountable so that you stay out of that victim mentality. So you put people in your box. This is the same little different areas of life from the book, The One Thing. This is 4 of the 7. So Mark King, he is the president of our company. This is her dream boy.
My boyfriend.
Yeah.
I love Mark King.
So for 4 areas of his life, for financial, spiritual, physical, and business, he has a minimum of 2 role models, 2 people to hold himself accountable to. I can remind you of things. I can't actually keep you accountable. I cannot make you do things. But if you tell me your goals, I will gladly check in with you and say, hey, how did that go? Let me know about it. Can we work on a strategy together? Absolutely, but I cannot do it for you. But you can absolutely tell someone your goals and make sure that they are there to remind you to stay on track until you get there.
And again, when, like Mark has identified these people in these areas of his life, when you write down a name, when you identify who that person is for you, you're more likely to talk to them about it. It's just like writing down your goals. You are more likely to be held accountable in that area because now you've got somebody that you are reporting to. So on the next page,
Ooh.
I want you to write down at least one person in each of those areas of your life that you can say or identify is a mentor or a role model for you in the financial, spiritual, physical, and business part of your life. And if you don't have somebody, at the bottom of those circles, it says, then I want to add that person to my life by this date. Because what do accountable people do? They set goals and they set timelines. So it's okay if you don't have somebody, but when do you want to have somebody by? Write a date down. And if you've got more than one person that you can put in that circle, bless you, write those names down. And these are the people that I want you to start checking in with. I want you to start having conversations about whatever circle that is. Guys, don't be afraid to talk about money. Money is good for the good it can do. If you don't talk about money, if you're not having money talk, then you're not financially literate. You have to learn finance and literacy in the financial world, just like everything else. So don't be afraid to talk about finances. Who is that person that you can talk to finances about? Do you already know them? Write their name down. If you don't, when do you want to find somebody by? Ask for help.
Writing a name down is not where it ends. You have to get out of your comfort zone and say, hey, this is my big goal. I very much want you to keep me accountable because I very much admire this in you. I want you to be my role model for this. And then on this next page, here is a coaching conversation that they can have with you, that you can teach them to have with you. You're going to teach people how to treat you. If you want someone to be a role model, a coach, an accountability partner, teach them what that needs to look like. It may be different for you than it is for somebody else. So the questions they should be asking you is, what was your goal? How did you do? How do you feel about that? What do you need to do now? They may ask, is there anything stopping you from doing that? Do you need training or support? What could that look like?
It's very simple questions. And the great thing about a great coach or a great mentor is that they ask questions. They don't give advice. They don't bark orders. They don't tell you how great they are. They simply ask how you're doing. And how do you feel about how you're doing? And what do we need to do to help you advance?
Like I need to find some new friends.
Okay, so I'm so glad that you said that, okay, because I want to address that really quickly. This is not our normal world, guys. I tell recruits this, I tell new agents this all the time. When you walk through these doors at Keller Williams, we talk different, we act different, we are different, and it's a big change, and it's scary, and not everybody wants to go along for the ride. And that's okay. That doesn't mean that they're not wonderful people in your life. It doesn't mean that you don't care about them. It doesn't mean that you don't love them, but sometimes it does mean that we outgrow them. And it was really, really hard for me to accept that. And once I did, and once I knew that I can't bring everybody with me because they're not willing to come. And once I accepted that, things really started changing for me. We talk about here at KW, we talk about gradual and then sudden. You want to talk about a gradual and then sudden change. When I stopped trying so hard for the people in my life that didn't want it for themselves, and then I took that energy and I focused it back on me, which is not selfish. It's putting on your oxygen mask first so that you can take care of other people. But when I started putting that energy towards my own life and my own 6 personal perspectives and my own goals, suddenly things changed. Suddenly. And it was gradual, and it took a long time to accept it and to be all right with it, and to know that these friends are not going to be friends I hang out with all the time. I'm not going to sit there. I can't go and drink until oblivion every single night anymore because I'm not 20 and I've got children and I've got responsibilities and I've got things I want to do. I still like wine. But then it happened just like that. I mean, it happened fast, and the trajectory of our success took off. Still love those people. I can still have conversations with them, but we're not close anymore. There's family members too, guys. We're not close anymore. I can't have some of these conversations with people in my family because they're not willing to listen. And they don't think that money is good. And they think that rich people are bad. And that's just them. That's the life they want to live. And that's okay. I don't want mediocrity. I don't want average. I want more than that. So sometimes you have to leave them behind, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And then you'll be surprised, some of the ones that do want to go. And man, what an amazing relationship you can build when that happens.
I have to share a little cheesy analogy because
Please
that's how
do.
I roll, you know. Along with like the jar, we were at a boring cowboy symposium that was not my choice, but I learned something really cool. There was an old cowboy up there talking about, and it was in Sunday, it was the cowboy church talking about how he had horses. When you have horses, you and I don't. So, but you use a real wiry brush to get all the yuck out and dig deep and get it. And then you have to go back and you have to use the smoother one to smooth it. And that there is a reason for every tool, brush, or hair accessory for the horse, you know, whatever. And that people are in our lives for the same reason. And so I feel like, because I've had to, some people, and I feel like I've ditched them, but they played their role in that season of my life, and now I've moved on and they have too. Doesn't mean we're not still friends, but with this season of my life, I have new friends. Just kind of like,
You need a different
Sarah
brush.
is like my wire brush that I hate. I'm tender-headed, and she digs deep, but then I go to Jessi and she like fine combs it, and it, you know, but anyway, it was just a neat thing. So I don't think we say that we're not friends with them anymore, but I really appreciated you in this time of my life, but I don't need that from you as much. Thank you for that, though. So
Oh, I think that's gorgeous. I'm gonna steal that.
it was really eloquently done by the cute old man
I'm gonna get up
at
here.
Cowboy Church.
And I'm gonna put on my cowboy hat when I make that little analogy, and then we'll take it all
Maybe
off.
you should just get a Santa hat.
I have a bunny head. That's as close as I've got. I think it's super important. There are different stages and there are different tools. And sometimes people are tools in our lives. And sometimes we don't need that tool anymore.
You are a culmination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If the 5 people you have spent the most time with in the last 10 years are not ready to get out of their comfort zone and get to the place where you need to be to achieve these goals, you need to find the 5 people that are going to hold you accountable, that you want to spend time with, that will absolutely push you and cheer you on to get there. You deserve that support.
Ooh, so good. Okay, we're almost done.
Beep, beep, beep.
So we're going to become a high achiever because we're going to start living out the 6 personal perspectives. So for each perspective, I want you to write down one thing that you want to implement. One thing. So one thing that is going to help me commit to self-mastery. One thing that's going to help me commit to the 80-20 principle. That could be time blocking. One thing that's going to help me move from E to P. Get the gist? Nobody's writing.
All right, so commit to self-mastery, knowing your strengths and weaknesses. What are your obstacles and what strengths can you use to move forward? What is your one thing there? 80-20. What is your one thing on the daily that needs to happen to get you to your goal? Do you need to time block it and protect it? Moving from E to P, how are you going to get out of your comfort zone? What is the granular one thing that needs to happen? Learning base. Find out what you need to learn. What is the one thing that needs to happen there? Remove your limiting beliefs. Change your words and change your mindset. What one thing needs to happen there? Be accountable, building your team. What one thing needs to happen there? Once you have written those down, get out your phones and either text or email Jessi or myself the one thing for each of your 6 personal perspectives, and guess who your new accountability partners are? Dun, dun, dun.
You don't have to send us 6 things. Pick one out of the 6 that you wrote down. So we're gonna give you about 5 minutes to do this, and then pick one, or one, or one, or one, and you're gonna text that one thing that you wanna focus on the most to either myself or Sarah, so that we can check in with you next week and see how you're doing.
See how fun it is to get uncomfortable and make things happen for yourself?
So write down one thing for each of these areas. How am I going to commit to self-mastery? How am I going to remove my limiting beliefs? How am I going to be accountable? And if you want to tie that into the big goal that you've written down 5 times now, that's even better. Because guess what? We want to help you with that big goal. So I'm actually going to challenge you to text us your big goal and the one thing that you want to accomplish. So that way we can tie it together, and so that way we can ask you those questions. What is your big goal? How are you doing? How does that make you feel? What needs to change, or what do we need to do in order to make this more productive and help you reach that goal faster? I'm taking a picture of everybody in the room so that I know who actually sends us something.
Kara walked out of the room. I'm writing her name down right now.
Write Kara down, yep. All right, so we're going to be expecting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 text messages.
Even if it's dumb, I send it to you.
I don't care if it's dumb.
That
It's
is
not
a
dumb. That's
limiting
belief.
Scheduling, your one, so you guys figure one.
I use Google Calendar because it sends me a text notification. It also sends me an email. I can invite others so that they know what's going on.
So we can look across the room and say, hey, Jessi, aren't you supposed to be making those blueprint calls right now?
And
you can talk into it for it to write it down.
you can do talk to text. Mhm.
No, just.
I also do Google Calendar because I can share that calendar with others. So Sarah has my calendar, my husband has my calendar, Courtney has my calendar, Sarah up front has my calendar. I can share my calendar with my family if they're ever brave enough to ask for it. But that way, everyone can see what I've got going on so that I'm also not being double booked. I also use Calendly, which allows other people to schedule on my calendar at their own convenience. That is a paid resource. They have a free one, but I use the paid one. And it is incredibly helpful because instead of me sitting there and wasting time saying, well, are you available here? Are you available then? Here's my availability, or here's what I've got going on. What do you have going on? I can just send them my calendar link. They can plug themselves in. They show up. It's magical. It's also one of those, you teach people how to treat you. When you show someone, hey, this is how I live my life, and I'm a very scheduled person. First of all, that makes you look really put together. And as a client, I appreciate that. Like when I have somebody that I'm working with and they are structured and they say, this is when I'm available and I have to fit into their schedule. First of all, that tells me that they mean business and I respect them so much more from the get-go. Secondly, it just makes everyone's life easier. It's a system. It's a system that I've chosen to start using. I used to be a paper calendar. I used to get my stickers. I used to highlight.
Trash talk stick.
I'm not. But I had time to highlight and sticker. And one thing was on one block of that calendar. And now none of my stuff will fit into those tiny little squares. And I don't carry my paper calendar with me all the time. Guess what I have with me all the time? I have my phone. So yeah, it's those two things I highly, highly recommend.
We just say we're old school, we have a calendar.
That's okay. That's okay. I used to carry my calendar with me when I could fit everything in it. I had it in my
I
purse.
can see how my calendar is moving towards needing
Me too.
to type about.
Right. And so, but now, like I said, there's not enough blocks. And then I started carrying the calendar that was this big and I put it in my purse. Well, now, even this big doesn't have enough space because I live so scheduled. As a matter of fact, I need to make sure, okay, 1 o'clock is my next appointment. Hey, I know that this was a lot of content and it's a lot longer class than what we typically have. And it's that important. We really, really are very honored, one, that you stayed the whole time, and two, that you showed up, because I know it's the holiday season. And this is a time when a lot of people tend to just be like, I'll do it later. I'll do it tomorrow. But I just want to remind you that what you're doing now is what's going to yield in 90 days. So the people that aren't here and the people that are like, I'll do it tomorrow, guess what? In March, they're going to be crying because they're not going to have any business. So I commend you, and I'm really excited that you're here, and thank you for sticking through it. And we're going to start teaching this every quarter. So look around the room at who's not here that's your friend. Go tap them on the shoulder and tell them that they need to be at the next one. Any questions? Simple, right? It's not easy. You've got to make the choice. Thank y'all so much for being here.
Thanks for doing it.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for being in the room.